The access door to the observation lounge hissed open. Commander Gorak of the Grok Empire stepped through, his heavy boots shaking the metal floor. He was tall, wide-shouldered, and covered in dark armored skin. Behind him marched 5 of his best Grok warriors, each one built like a war machine. Human crew members standing nearby went silent. They moved quickly out of the way, their heads low, avoiding eye contact. "Commander," said a small human attendant, bowing politely. "Your reserved seats are this way." Gorak didn't reply. He looked around the lounge with a cold, judging stare. His golden eyes scanned the area like a hunter inspecting a new cage. "This is better," he growled to his young aide Tira, who walked 2 respectful paces behind him. "Not like that glass shuttle we used last time." Tira gave a nod, silently, agreeing. She knew her place. Grok warriors didn't talk unless ordered. The observation lounge on the interstellar transport Driftwood was a place for elites. The ceiling viewports showed stunning visuals of hyperspace, swirling blues, purples, and streaks of white light rushing past. Most passengers sat quietly, enjoying drinks or speaking in hushed voices. And then, the silence shifted. At first, no one noticed. Just a feeling, an itch behind the neck, like cold air brushing the back of your mind. Gorak paused, his foot hovering above the final step to his seat. He turned slightly, his warriors tensed. Someone was watching them. Across the lounge, at a table near the far viewport, a single human sat alone. He wore simple clothes, no rank, no armor. A tall glass of something dark rested untouched on the table. The man didn't blink. He didn't move. He just watched. Gorak narrowed his eyes. The man was pale, lean, with short black hair, and scars on both hands. His face showed no expression. Not fear, not interest, just stillness. "Who is that?" Gorak asked, his voice low but sharp. The attendant blinked. Passenger 47A. No known background. Transferred from a low-security zone. Paid in full." "No. Escort?" Gorak asked. "No, sir." "Name?" The attendant swallowed. He only gave one word. "Mason." Commander Gorak frowned. Mason meant nothing to him. But something about this human didn't feel right. He walked to his seat but sat with one eye on the man. His warriors followed, sitting with their weapons within reach. Minutes. Hasi, nothing happened, but Mason didn't stop staring. Then, just as a Grok server offered refreshments, a subtle shift occurred. Mason tilted his head. That was it, a slight head tilt. But Commander Gorak stood up so fast the table cracked under his knee. His warriors jumped, drawing their blades with a sharp clang. The entire lounge froze. Glasses stopped mid-air. Conversations died. "What did he do?" Tira whispered. Gorak growled. "That movement. That's not civilian." Mason finally blinked. Slowly, like he hadn't done it in hours. Then he looked at his drink, picked it up, and sipped once. He placed it back, down. His eyes met Gorak's again. Still no fear. One of Gorak's warriors, Karen, stepped forward. "Commander, permission to remove him." "No," Gorak said, still watching Mason. "Not yet." He opened his wrist console and silently sent a scan command. Mason's chair flashed briefly, picking up biosigns. Scan error, neural pattern. Obscured scan error, emotional state, undetectable warning, human cortex, modified. Gorak's heart skipped. Modified? How? Humans weren't allowed cortical upgrades anymore. He tried again. Result: incomplete. Emotional suppression detected. Emotional suppression? That was old tech, banned after the Earth collapse. Gorak sat slowly. "Get me a background. Search on him. Everything. I want his origin, parents, DNA line." "But sir, the human records after Earth's disappearance." "Search the shadow archives. He's not normal." Meanwhile, Mason stood. No weapons. No movement toward anyone. Just a quiet step toward the viewport. He placed one hand against the glass, His reflection merged with the lights outside, his face calm, his eyes distant, and then he whispered. Even though the lounge was silent, no one heard the words, not even Gorak. But one of the lounge lights flickered, and on the glass near Mason's hand, a crack appeared, small, thin, but spreading. Gorak stood again. Contain him. Karen moved fast, charging across the lounge. Mason turned his head slowly. Their eyes met. Karen's speed slowed. His steps turned into a stumble. And then he dropped, unconscious. No sound. No strike. Just collapse. Gasps filled the room. Mason looked back out the window. Commander Gorak didn't move. For the first time in 200 years, he felt something he hadn't in a long time. Fear. Real fear. This man had done nothing, no weapons, no tech, no fighting stance. Yet one word, one glance, and a top warrior dropped like a child fainting in the sun. Tira's voice trembled. Commander, what is he? Gorak stared, eyes wide. I don't know. He opened a private military channel. Send this footage to the War Council. Mark this human, Mason, as high threat priority. Do not engage. Observe only. Outside the ship, hyperspace continued to swirl. Inside, the human turned back to his seat, calm as ever, and smiled. Commander Gorak stood alone in his private quarters aboard the Driftwood. The lounge incident replayed silently on the curved screen in front of him. Again and again, he watched Mason lift his head. Again and again, Karen collapsed. No sound. No attack. Just collapse. He clenched his fists. What are you? He muttered. Behind him, Tira entered slowly, holding a data tablet. We have something, Commander. It's not much, but strange. Gorak turned. Speak. She placed the tablet on the table between them. No standard records, but we accessed an old war archive, the kind sealed after the human purge. It triggered a forgotten keyword. Gorak raised a brow. Which one? Tira hesitated. Then, in a hushed voice, Project Silent Veil. Gorak's expression froze. He hadn't heard that name since the First Terran War, long before Earth's fall, before humans vanished from the Galactic Council, before the records were erased. That was a myth, Gorak said quietly. A ghost story, Tira shook her head. Apparently not. It matches fragments of Mason's DNA. Project Silent Veil was real, and it was human. Gorak walked to the screen and pressed his claw against it. What was the project's purpose? Tira, read the file slowly. Emotional dampening, psychological stealth. They trained human soldiers to shut down their emotional signatures. Completely silent minds, no rage, no fear, no guilt, nothing to detect. They could walk into a battlefield and disappear from scans. Gorak narrowed his eyes. But what made them dangerous? Tira swallowed. The silence wasn't just for hiding. It was a trigger. Once activated, they became different, faster, smarter, crueler, all while appearing perfectly calm. Gorak turned slowly, voice like a growl. How many were made? Tira's voice dropped. It says only 32 survived the final trials. Most died during the brain modifications, but there's a note. One name is still marked active. She tapped the screen. Mason 47A status dormant. Last seen. Unconfirmed threat level. Red, do not engage. Silence hung between them. I was told the humans erased this tech, Gorak said, almost to himself. After Earth fell, after they lost, the war. Tira looked pale. What if they didn't lose? Meanwhile, deep inside the driftwood, in a lower maintenance corridor, Mason walked alone. No one stopped him. The surveillance drones following him had gone dark. 3 in a row. No signal, no data. He paused near a sealed service panel, placing one hand on the metal wall. His fingers tapped a strange rhythm. Tap, tap, pause. Tap, tap, tap. The wall buzzed softly. A hidden access panel slid open. Inside was an old dust-covered device, ancient human tech, not connected to any known network, not powered by modern energy cells. Mason smiled faintly and pressed his palm to the top. The device glowed blue. Lines of forgotten code flowed across its screen. Wake protocol, silent veil, activated. Units online 3, units dormant E29. Command status Mason 47A prime. His smile faded. He whispered, "They found me too early." Back at the Galactic War Council command ship, Grok Empire Core Sector High. Overlord Jarnik stared at the footage sent by Commander Gorak. He didn't blink. The room was full of war leaders. Grok, Valari, Durnak, even 2 council androids. Each had watched the video of the silent human. Each was now silent themselves. Why didn't he attack? One Valari general asked. He could have killed the entire room. He didn't need to, said the android coldly. He sent a message. We're not safe from the quiet ones. Overlord Jarnik spoke, deep and grim. I remember the Veil units. We fought one, just one. On Chelin 4. She walked into our command post. No alarm, no resistance. We thought she was a translator. She left 20 bodies in her wake. Never raised her voice. Heavy silence followed. One Durnak commander leaned forward. This Mason, is he the last? No one answered. Jarnik turned to his tech officer. Activate Order Black Flame. Search every long-range comm-net. Look for whispers, reports, any sign of quiet humans, especially ones showing no emotional scans. The officer nodded. And if we find them? Jarnik's eyes darkened. We do not engage. Not unless we want another extinction war. On the driftwood, hours later, Tira found Gorak again, this time on the ship's lower deck. He stood by a reinforced observation window looking into space. Commander, she said, there's more. He turned. 2 hours ago, an old Terran signal was detected, buried beneath a civilian transmission frequency. It wasn't noise. It was a code. Gorak stepped closer. Decoded? She handed him the pad. Yes. Message. Intercepted. To the quiet one still hiding, the veil stirs. We were never gone. Just waiting. Don't break the silence yet. But be ready. Gorak read it twice. And for the first time in his military career, he felt like the war he thought was over had never ended. 2 weeks later, Grok Empire border, Sector K9A Grok patrol cruiser named Vengeance's Roar floated in silent orbit around a dead moon. Inside the command deck, Captain Vero barked orders at his crew. Check that heat signature again. I want full scans. No glitches. His team scrambled. Something was off. An old Terran signal had pulsed briefly from the surface. Impossible, they said. Earth was gone. The humans were scattered. But the ping was real. And the fear that followed, even more real. Captain, one officer called, pale. We found a human structure, underground, hidden beneath the rock, Varro growled. Send a squad. I want eyes inside in 10 minutes. 12 Grok warriors descended onto the moon's surface. Thick armor, pulse rifles, night vision, standard procedure. Inside the underground base, everything was dark. No signs of life. Just rusted walls, old human tech, and silence. Too much silence. Inside the facility Grok, soldiers moved through the halls with slow, deliberate steps. Their boots echoed. Then one stopped. There was a sound, a breath, a whisper. Turned nothing, just a reflection, his own. No. Wait. The reflection didn't move when he did. Before he could raise his rifle, a soft hand tapped his shoulder. He screamed. The others found his body 3 corridors down. No wound, no blood. Just dead. Eyes wide open, mouth frozen, mid-scream. His scan tag read, cause of death, system shock. Unknown source. Meanwhile, aboard the driftwood, Mason stood in front of a large mirror in a quiet room on the lower deck. Behind him, the veil device pulsed softly. He stared at his reflection. Not out of vanity, but calculation. He was aging slower. The modifications did more than silence emotion. They slowed decay. He didn't eat much anymore, didn't sleep often, and didn't forget anything. A voice broke the silence. How much longer can you pretend to be normal? Mason didn't turn. The voice was inside his mind. Not memory. Communication. One of the others had activated telepathic link protocol, Alexei 13B. 3 confirmed dead on the moon. She whispered into his thoughts. They're hunting. Slowly, carefully, like they remember what we are. They should be afraid, Mason replied. We don't have much time. Soon they'll start striking. Let them. They'll wake us up faster that way. He closed his eyes, felt the pulse of another Veil unit activating, somewhere in the Andari belt. Tom 05X. Good. That made 4 now. Just 4, but enough to start fear. Grok Council, War Operations Room. 3 warriors dead, Gorak announced to the Council. Without resistance, no warning signs, no blood, only terror. All reports match Project Silent Veil. Across the table, commanders fidgeted. Counselor Vel from the Valari Confederation leaned forward. This must be Mason. No, Gorak said. We believe it's another, possibly multiple. Jarnik's voice thundered from the far end. And how many are we talking? Gorak hesitated. The archives confirmed 32 test subjects. If the Veil project survived, we could be dealing with a dozen or more. Why now? Vel demanded. Why? Wake up now? Gorak met his gaze. Because someone triggered them. A command was sent, not a message, a call. Back on the moon, Captain Vero himself entered the base now, reckless, angry. Secure the rest of the site, he growled. No more waiting. But the moment they reached the main lab chamber, they stopped. There, written on the wall in red human script, we do not strike first, we wait. But if you come for us, we finish what you started. Below the message, a list of 10 human names. 3 of them were glowing softly. Alexei 13B, Tom 05X, Mason 47A. Vero's eyes widened. These weren't warnings. These were war markers. A countdown. Later, aboard the Driftwood, Tira sat across from Mason in a dim-lit cafe. He sipped water. Nothing else. Who are you really? She asked, voice low. He looked at her. I'm just a man who survived. That's not the truth. He smiled. No, it isn't. Tira's hand tightened around her spoon. You're waking them up, aren't you? The others. The ones like you. Mason tilted his head. Wouldn't you? Silence stretched. You're not here by accident, she said finally. You wanted to be seen. That fight in the lounge, Karen's death. You chose to make it public. Yes, Mason said, because the galaxy forgot what happens when humans get quiet. Location, Central Archive Moon, Zelkari Empire Territory. The Great Central Archive, buried deep under the moon's crust, held every piece of recorded galactic knowledge. From ancient treaties to secret biological data, it was a fortress of truth and lies. Today it was under lockdown. Dozens of Zelkari guards moved through the data corridors. Their sleek armor shimmered under the red emergency lights. Somewhere inside the archive, a breach had occurred, but nothing was missing. No doors broken, no alarms triggered. Only one thing was different. A single human file was accessed, and it hadn't been touched in 72 galactic years. Meanwhile, aboard, the Driftwood Tira sat alone in her quarters. Her hands trembled slightly as she rewatched the footage from the lounge fight, the one where Mason killed Karen with barely a glance. She froze the frame on Mason's face. No rage. No fear. Not even satisfaction, just calm. Like he was doing something natural. She tapped a private comm link. Encryption was heavy. Illegal even. I need to talk, she whispered into the mic. About what? Came the voice on the other end. About The Veil Project. About the quiet ones. I think I'm sitting next to the leader. Elsewhere. The reawakening site. Asteroid Q9 Alexei 13b crouched beside an open stasis pod. Her eyes glowed faint blue. Cold breath left her lips in short, measured puffs. 5 more pods were now active. Each held a different unit. Each one. Quiet. No words passed between them. But emotions did. They could feel one another. Feel pain, memory, and vengeance. They didn't need war cries. They didn't need orders. They only needed to remember. And now, they did. Flashback, 72 years ago. Earth's final broadcast in a broken bunker beneath the Arctic surface. The last Council of Earth recorded a desperate message. Outside, the sky burned with orbital strikes. Above, ships fell like dying stars. Inside, the air was silent except for one voice. Humanity is not dead, not defeated, only paused. We created the veil not to win, but to remember. When they come looking, when they forget to be afraid, wake us. The message ended. Earth fell silent. Until now. Back on the Driftwood, Commander Gorak was called to a secure communication room. An old Valari official appeared on the screen, wrinkled, with electric scars across her temples. We've confirmed. The truth, she said coldly. The Veil Project survived. The humans didn't just disappear, they hid their best. Gorak leaned forward. How many? Unknown. They altered records, erased traces. They didn't just go silent, they became ghosts. Gorak snarled. Then we exterminate them. Burn every old Terran site, no more hiding. The woman on screen paused. We tried. That once. She showed a recent image. 5 Grok cruisers split in half. No heat weapon detected. Just imploded. Gorak's fists tightened. These aren't just soldiers, she whispered. There's something else now. Tira's private message. The turning point. Tira finally got a reply from her hidden contact. Pull him out. Get him off the Driftwood. Now. The others are waking, and the galaxy will choose sides. He's not safe there anymore. She looked toward the deck where Mason was walking quietly. He always moved with calm footsteps. Never fast, never loud. But now she noticed how everyone avoided walking near him. Even the Grok servants who once towered proudly over the crew now stepped back. Fear was growing, but so was something else. Obedience. Secret lab. Grok military sector. A Black Ops scientist stared at his monitor in horror. He'd been studying old DNA from the Veil survivors, trying to replicate their control over emotion, memory, and nerve response. But something unexpected showed up. In one test sample, the blood wasn't even human anymore. It was changing, evolving. The cells reacted to fear. They fed on it. The longer a Veil survivor remained undisturbed, the more stable they were. But when provoked, when attacked or exposed, something woke inside them, something ancient. Maybe not even Terran. The scientist opened a file labeled, Class Red. Whisperborn, do not engage. He tried to lock it, but the screen went black. Then one sentence appeared. You saw what you shouldn't have. The lights in the lab flickered. Then, screams. Back to Alexei 13b, she walked to a console deep beneath the asteroid facility. Her fingers moved fast, activating a sequence. 32 red dots appeared on the map. 11 were already glowing. She closed her eyes and called out silently. To them, one word, wake. Meanwhile, Mason sat in his room. His eyes snapped open. His breathing slowed. And for the first time in years, he felt something. Not anger, not pain, but connection. The others were answering. The wait was over. Location, Galactic War Command, Zelkari Prime. The Emergency Council was in full panic. Holograms of destroyed fleets floated above the table. Ships cut in perfect halves, melted from the inside, or simply vanished mid-transit. No explosions. No survivors. No weapon signatures. The Grok Supreme Warlord slammed his fist down. This is human trickery. I want names. I want blood. The Zelkari intelligence commander, pale and shaking, replied quietly. Sir, we tried to trace the source. It's not a fleet, not even an army. He hesitated. It's individuals. Silent ones. One per incident. The warlord's mouth opened slightly. One? The commander nodded. They don't use words. They don't send threats. They arrive. And then nothing is left but cold wreckage. Aboard the driftwood, Tira moved fast. She'd packed only a small data crystal, her encrypted comm device, and a medical kit. She slid the door to Mason's quarters open. He was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor, as if he'd been waiting for her. You're leaving, he said calmly. She nodded. We're both leaving. He studied her. It started, hasn't it? Yes, she whispered. They're waking up. The galaxy knows now. I didn't want it to be like this, Mason murmured, his voice lower than a whisper. Tira felt her heart ache. For all his power, for all the fear he inspired, he still felt guilt. She knelt beside him. There's something else. You need to see it. She handed him the data crystal. Inside it was a secret document. Project Veil, Phase 0. Human experimentation with ancient frequency. Below that, one line stood out in blinking red. Subject Alpha. Mason Lorne. Status. Emotion locked. Silent. Activation only. Mason stared at it. A memory stirred inside him. Something buried deep. A white room. A voice saying, when you feel again, the galaxy will break. His fists clenched. Elsewhere, asteroid Q9 Alexei 13b and the newly awakened. Units stood in a circle. They didn't speak, they just synced. Each had seen loss, each had died in simulations. Each had learned not to cry. The galaxy feared humans who screamed, but they should have feared the ones who never did. She pressed her hand to a console. Dozens of new pods lit up. Scene switch, Valari black site, secret prison, moon subject, Z4. Was kept in a cell without light, without sound. He hadn't moved in 37 years. Until now. The lights flickered. The guards screamed. The door melted, and when Z4 stepped out, his eyes were pitch black. His first words in nearly 4 decades. I remember what you did. Back on the driftwood, the ship shook. Emergency lights flared. Unknown vessel approaching at impossible speed, screamed the pilot. Outside, a small craft drifted beside them. No weapons, no energy signals, no life signs, yet it matched speed perfectly. A voice came through the comms. Calm. Human. Mason Lorne. Ready for pickup. Mason turned to Tira. You can come with me, but this road doesn't go backward. She nodded. Good, he said, then stepped through the airlock. The small craft absorbed them both and disappeared. Scene. Grok capital. Nighttime. An elite warrior unit trained in perfect formation. Until one by one, they froze. The night grew cold. Their sensors flickered. Then a human walked out of the shadows. Barefoot, bleeding. Eyes glowing faint blue. No weapon in hand. Just a whisper that carried across the wind. Tell them we're done hiding. Cut to Archive Moon. Aftermath investigators scanned the now empty Vault 17. A single symbol burned into the wall. A human handprint. Below it, a message etched in Terran tongue. Silence wasn't defeat. It was design. Emotional memory. Mason's childhood. Flashback in a small Earth shelter. A boy sat beside a dying mother. She whispered through bloodied lips. You don't have to scream. You don't have to fight. Just remember. That's enough. That's always been enough. Tears filled Mason's eyes. That was the day he stopped speaking. The day the veil took him. Galaxy-wide transmission. Intercepted by dozens of civilizations. An untraceable signal breaks into news channels, military networks, and even personal devices. It's not video, not sound, just a shared feeling. Guilt, grief, fire, Then one voice, like a dream. You forgot who we were, but we never forgot you. Cliffhanger ending. Commander Gorak returns to the destroyed training facility on Grok homeworld. Everything, burned, torn apart, without a shot fired. At the center of the ruin, he finds a single message scratched into stone. It was never the ones who shouted, it was always the ones who waited. He turns, and hears a breath behind him. A human stands in the shadows, silent, unmoving, watching. Location, Zelkari Prime, High Command. War Hall, the Grand Council had never been so silent. Across the room, alien leaders from dozens of species stared at the central holodisplay. Words floated in space above them, written in Terran script and translated in red. We were quiet, not weak. The Grok warlord growled. They're playing with our minds. The Valari Prime Minister shook her head. No. This is older than any war tactic. This is cultural memory. They've waited for us to forget them, and now they're reminding us. An aide ran in, pale and trembling. There's been another breach this time. The vault on Exoterra. Nothing left. No alarms, no signs of entry. The room filled with whispers and fear. Aboard the Ghost Thread, a human shadowcraft mason stood alone in the dark room. Around him, 10 others, humans, like him, sat in silence. No commands, no war cries, just breathing. Tira entered slowly. It's spreading. The Zelkari system is on high alert. They've closed trade. Ships are grounded. Mason nodded. Good. Let them panic before the real war starts. She frowned. You call this a war? He met her eyes. It's not the kind they understand. Flashback. Earth, 90 years. Ego scientists stood in awe as the ancient Terran artifact pulsed for the first time. No one knew where it came from. Just that it had a frequency, too low to hear, too deep to ignore. One researcher whispered, It's speaking to the parts of us we buried. They called it the core, and then Earth vanished from galactic records. By design. Scene. Training ground. Grok homeworld. Now burned. Elite warrior. Zarthok limped through the ashes. His unit, hundreds of Grok commandos, was gone. No laser marks, no shrapnel, just shadows burned into walls. He found a single piece of data etched onto the ground, a child's drawing. A human child, smiling, below it, in blood-red ink. This is how you taught us. We just remembered better. Meanwhile, secret human outpost in the Kuthar Rift. Hundreds of silent human operatives sat in meditation, connected via neural link. Alexei 13B walked among them. Each one had survived extinction simulations, genetic, suppression, emotional sterilization, and each had been reawakened not by rage but by memory. Alexei said only 4 words to the group. Phase 2 begins now. Location, Zelkari capital, central news broadcast. Center without warning, every screen went black. Then a single video played. A memory, unfiltered, raw. A child hiding in rubble while Zelkari drones bombed a Terran refugee camp. The footage wasn't from war archives. It was from the child's eyes. A direct neural upload. Across the galaxy, viewers gasped, some wept. And then the voice returned. Soft. We never screamed. You just stopped listening. Tira's journal entry, personal log. I don't know what's right anymore. I came from the Zelkari system. I believed we were peacekeepers. But Mason never wanted revenge. He wanted memory to be restored, the kind that makes entire empires feel guilt in their bones. Battle report. Outpost Delta 7, Grok territory. An entire squad disappeared. Final audio log from Captain Zarg. We're hearing music, like Earth lullabies, but distorted, coming from inside our helmets. We can't turn it off. And then, we saw them. Just one, standing, No armor, no ship, just standing. Transmission cuts. Back on the ghost thread, Tira sat across from Mason. "You're not angry?" she said. "That's what terrifies them the most." Mason looked down at his hands. "I don't need to be angry. I just need them to feel what we buried." He pulled up a small hologram. A map of the galaxy. Red dots blinked across every major capital. Tira's breath caught. "That's every system that erased Earth from its records." Mason nodded. It's time they remembered. One memory at a time. Location: unknown galactic black site. A dark chamber opened. Inside was Subject 9, cryogenically frozen for 140 years. The ice cracked. The human inside opened his eyes and simply whispered, "Where is she?" Alarms blared, then silence. Selkari Military HQ, internal emergency message to all commanders. Project Veil has failed. Humans are no longer. Silent, do not engage, evacuate colonies in phase zones.